Okay, today we're going to talk about organelles. Um, Organelles are compartments within a cell that all have specific jobs, and they work together to sustain life. Now, I've included a small, it's about 8 minutes long video in this presentation, just to demonstrate everything that goes on inside of the cell. It started about halfway through here, but I've muted it so the music doesn't interfere with the presentation. So this just kind of demonstrates overall what happens in the cell, and there's just so much. It's insane the amount that happens, and we don't even realize it. So I'll just kind of fast through this real quick. This is spectrum tetramer. Now I don't expect you to understand everything in this, but if you want to watch the whole thing and kind of get an overview and feel for it, and then you'll be all set by the end of the semester. So organelles. So first we're going to talk about the endoplasmic reticulum. So the endoplasmic reticulum has there's two versions of it. There's the smooth ER and the rough ER. ER just stands for endoplasmic reticulum. Now the smooth ER, this well, actually it might be easier if we talk about the rough ER first. The rough ER contains, and it's studded with things called ribosomes. I made a note of this here, which are a separate organelle. So endoplasmic reticulum is an organelle, and the ribosomes are organelles, all in and of themselves. So they're separate things that work together, and that's what I want you to kind of take away from this, that all of these are separate entities that work together to sustain life. So it might be easier if we talk about ribosomes first. All ribosomes do is they are primary in protein synthesis. That's kind of what they're in charge of. So endoplasmic reticulum coupled with the ribosomes, that creates the rough ER. Now this is also responsible for protein synthesis, but it's also responsible for protein folding, which we'll talk about the different levels of protein folding later in the semester. So now in addition to the rough ER, we have the smooth ER. Now this doesn't contain any ribosomes. This is why it's called smooth. There are no little bumps that would be the ribosomes. And this is responsible for lipid manufacturing, which are things like fats and steroids. This is highly tied in to lipids. So moving on, we'll talk about the nucleus, which I'm sure you all have heard of before. Classically, it's called the brain of the cell, or the control center of the cell. And really what it is it contains all of the genetic information in our cells. This is where our chromosomes are stored. So moving on, we have the mitochondria. You've probably heard of it as the powerhouse of the cell. It does a little more than that, but right now I just want you to remember that it's key in energy production. I've included a little lightning bolt graphic because when I think of energy, I kind of think of lightning. That might be an easy way to remember this. But it's critical in ATP synthesis, and it contains an electron transport chain to complete that task. And we'll talk more about electron transport chains and inner and outer cell membranes of the mitochondria later. So moving on, we have the Golgi apparatus, and this is what makes complex molecules. It takes simple molecules and combines them to create complex molecules, and then it packages and stores these things in vesicles, and these vesicles are either stored in the cell, or they're exported from the cell to go somewhere else, maybe to another cell, or just for excretion from the body. And the last organelle I want to talk about are lysosomes. These are they're vesicles inside of the cell that contain enzymes that destroy components like wastes or bacteria, and then these lysosomes actually will combine with a certain type of leukocyte called a phagocyte to create the phagolysosome, which is the phagocyte will engulf bacteria, fuse with the lysosome, which will use its enzymes to break down the bacteria. And that's, again, they work together to sustain life. So like I said, this is by no means a comprehensive list. There are more. This is really just talking about complex mammalian life. If we were talking about plants, we would also include things like a cell wall and chloroplast, but right now we're just talking about mammalian life. Also, this is just a brief overview. All of these organelles do a little something more, and it's not so cut and dry. They all do a little something more than this, but right now this is kind of just what I want you to know. Also, I've included a hyperlink. You just click on lysosomes, and this is a great website that kind of talks to you all about lysosomes and what they do. Okay, thank you for watching.